Hello, I'm Ani Aprahamian. I'm presently the director of Alikhanyan National Science Laboratory of Armenia. And at the same time, I'm actually a professor at the University of Notre Dame in the US. Notre Dame is one of the top universities in the United States. And here I hold an endowed chair professor position in nuclear physics. I've been enamored with science from very early in my life, but it has brought me to Armenia. And in fact, I'm very pleased and honored not only to be a part of this new program, to be the first to participate in this new program, but also to have been having the opportunity to become a part of history in Armenia. That's the history of having started nuclear medicine in Armenia. We did that by the operation of the cyclotron, which was purchased by the government of Armenia some years ago. And actually last year, 2019, we managed to get it to work. And in 2020, it has been an enormous help for Armenia and Armenian patients because they have been able to actually use the diagnostics that the cyclotron provides. So diagnostics which we didn't have in Armenia until now. And because of COVID, our people couldn't travel, the borders were closed, the airports were closed, and this was a really fantastic boon for Armenia. And I'm thrilled to have been a part of that operation. Now, a bit about me. I was born in Beirut, Lebanon. We moved to the US when I was 11 years old. So I have been in love with science from very early in my life. I thought science was going to save the world. How did I think that science was going to save the world? Well, in Lebanon, I attended a private religious school. And you might have heard that there was always the strife between the Jews and the Muslims and the Armenians and the believers and the non-believers. As is often common for us Armenians, when we have three people, we have four opinions in one room. So that was also the case. And as a child, I was horribly frightened. I was afraid of what everybody was saying. The religious school gave us Bibles, and then the last chapter of the Bible, the book of Revelations, there is this disaster for Lebanon, and that's where I was. I was a kid in Lebanon. So I somehow found science, and I thought science will give us the answers. Science will tell us the truth, not so many versions of everything going on. There has to be a truth somewhere. And that's how my love for science had always started. I thought if we can count, we can measure, we can observe. And from early childhood, I would imagine that my room, which had a big dining room table, that it was my laboratory. I didn't have any glassware, but I imagined a laboratory that I was going to build. And in fact, I became director of a nuclear physics laboratory in the US many years ago, 20 years ago or more. And I became the director of Alikhanyan about 2 years ago. So science and me, I really, it gave me hope. It was my inner savior. It was my superhero inside. I remember going to school with my grandmother one morning. It was the morning after the Americans had landed on the moon. And I remember being so excited that, wow, the Americans had gone to the moon, and my family was going to move to the United States, the country that did science. my grandmother, the whole way she was talking about those Americans, they were bringing the end of the earth and they were interfering with God's work and so on. But it left a big impression on me that I had to keep my science excitement to myself because my grandmother was so upset with the advance of this science. Well, science continued for me. I really, it brought me with great hope to the United States as a kid. So I didn't know much English, I didn't belong, I didn't fit in. In fact, when I meet people from Armenia, I'm always saying, you have no idea what it's like to live on this soil, to have lived in Armenia all your life and never felt like a stranger there. So growing up in the United States and learning to become an American, that was not easy. So my family, my sisters, I'm from a family of 5. I have 1 sister and 3 brothers. We joined a lot of Armenian organizations. We participated in the Armenian church's activities. So that was our Armenian aspect. And there were many, many kind people to help me. There was a teacher who was teaching English who thought I should be pushed ahead. He thought, you know a lot already. You really should go ahead in class and not repeat a class. There was a teacher in high school who wouldn't allow me to go to vocational school. I had thought, okay, my mother, my father, they were working very hard in the United States. I thought, well, I have to start working soon as well to help support the family. But my physics teacher, in fact, he said, I'm not going to sign this paper. So I wanted to be an assistant to a dentist. And he said, no, you will not go to this vocational school. You will not be an assistant to a dentist. Actually, that was the way that I got to go to a university in the United States. All of these things are private and cost a lot of money. And my family didn't have that money, but the university gave me a full scholarship to go to university. And then a university professor who said to me, you can do more than this, Aprahamian. My physics teacher in high school had said, over my dead body, Aprahamian, I'm not letting you go there. So there have been a lot of people to give a hand all the way as I go on. And that's something I always remember for everyone. You don't know at which point who will give you a hand and who will help you advance in what's happening. I have been always very much in love with Armenia and Armenians deep in my heart. We lived in the United States. I went to graduate school. I became a postdoctoral fellow, and then I became a professor at the University of Notre Dame. Notre Dame is in Indiana. It's in the state of Indiana. It's about 160 kilometers from Chicago. There are not very many Armenians here, but I had always had it in my heart that I wanted to be with Armenians and I wanted to do something for Armenia. So here I am. Over the years, I have become much more successful than I ever imagined in science. I'm a well-known nuclear physicist around the world, and I am asked to give advice to a lot of different countries in nuclear science. And that's how I came to Armenia. In 2009, I was asked by Yuri Oganessian, who is the element 118 is named after. He actually recruited me from the US as a member of a committee of experts. He called it a committee of experts. There were 12 of us from different countries around the world. Yuri Oganessian himself was the chair of this group, and he was from Dubna in the Russian Federation. And in our team were scientists from France, from Germany, from Italy, from United States, from Switzerland. So all of us came together to Armenia to give advice for what should be the next steps for Armenia as it had stepped away from the Soviet socialist republics and really heading towards independence and thriving. I have been very pleased that the government of Armenia, after this Velvet Revolution and before, had decided to become, for Armenia to become a knowledge-based economy. I think that's important for the future of Armenia, more important than many other countries. Science is important for a lot of countries, but really important for Armenia with our unfriendly neighbors and our love of education and our highly educated public. What I've learned about us, Armenians, while I lived in the diaspora in the US and Lebanon and many other countries, we always, our diaspora Armenians, we are all sentimental about Armenia and Armenians in Armenia. But Armenians in Armenia have had a different experience than those Armenians in the diaspora. On my first trip to Armenia, I was so impressed that everyone spoke Armenian. Said, oh, the kids going to school, they're speaking Armenian. The guy who's cleaning the street, he's speaking Armenian. The lady opening the shop, she's speaking Armenian. And I was so impressed that we were such unique people of such individualists. We're all individualists. But I see that that also has its downside. We're not so good at working as a team. And I noticed that in Armenia, that everyone thinks they are right. And sort of skeptical about everyone else, skeptical about what being told, skeptical about working in a team. And if I could give you any advice, I would say, while that individualism of wanting to be one, not being afraid to speak up, having our own voice, and always wanting to pave our own way in the sky, we should also remember that we have a lot of strength in working together. We are much better working together than we are all as individuals. I know our history is full of individuals who've done fantastic, great things. That's my experience of working in Armenia the last 2.5 years. I really would like to encourage you, if I could give you some advice. You know, lend a shoulder to your colleagues. I find that often Armenians working together don't understand the concept that if we work together, we will all win. We will all win more than if we try to make things all on our own. It's a proven physics fact that if everyone works together, everybody will win. But if one person betrays or one person only is selfish and does their own thing, that person may have some small advantage, but not as much advantage as if everyone worked together. So I'm already talking too long, but I really have sort of led my life with basically this quote by Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou is an American writer and poet. She's had a very rough life, but she had these most beautiful books and poetry. And one of the quotes that I love the best about her. She says, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. Life is about learning to dance in that rain. And I'd like to pass that word of wisdom on to you if I could. Life cannot be perfect, and it isn't. I mean, my own life, I imagined it to be completely different than it is. I wanted different things in life, but here I am, and I have enjoyed every bit of it. And I love making science my life. I love being a part of Armenia. I love being a part of my community of nuclear physicists around the world and contributing to that. But perhaps it would be more important for me to end my introduction here of saying hello to you by asking you and pleading with you and encouraging you to stand guardians of Armenia. Դերը եղեք ձեր երկրին. Ոչ թե միայն ձեր երկրին, բայց մեր երկրին. Դերը կանգնեք դուք այս երկրին. Մի թողեք որ թավաճանենք. Let's not betray our land. Let's not betray each other. Let's work together.